I first met Matt Groening in Los Angeles at the Book Expo, the big publishing convention, and I was with my friend Lane Smith, the successful children. I was a beginner, but he was already a successful children's illustrator. And he pointed out across the room that Leonard Maltin, Stephen King, and Matt Groening were having a conversation, and he was very nerdy about it, and I didn't even know what Matt Groening looked like. And so it was a process of deduction, because I did know what Leonard Maltin looked like, and the famous film critic. And Stephen King, I also had seen, so I knew the other guy was Matt Groening, and I was handing out the little Mr. Lunch airplane soaps, and I just marched across the room thinking, I'm going to hand Matt Groening, creator of The Simpsons, one of my soaps, and thinking it would be no big deal, or he'd say thanks and then keep talking to Stephen King, which is probably even what I would have done, But when I handed it to him, he was just like, he exploded. He was just like, "You're the guy!" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm the guy!" But I didn't know why he was excited, but it turned out that he was reading Mr. Lunch Takes a Plane Ride to his two sons, and they, as it even is explained in the wall quote, that it just like the way that they were appreciating it was of their own making, and they had their own myth about who was this weird, J. Otto Seibold, and so so when I met him, I had answered a question that he and his sons had already had many times about who made this, and so it was just lucky, and sometimes a small bar soap goes a long way in Hollywood. The personal introduction that Matt Groening wrote for me was the product of our long friendship, and the fact that he has always told me about, as somebody successful, he's been obligated to sign posters for charities and write introductions for other people, and he's always let me know, like, this is like one of the things that his life consists of, is meeting these requests, so when it came time for me to go beyond our friendship and ask for a blurb, I knew that he was bound to, by everything he'd said before, he was bound to also, honor my request. But then the process was, it went from like very friendly, thankful, initial calls and interaction to just fever pitch, multiple messages, up to the point of, I didn't even like say why I was calling anymore. I would just play the drums or, yodel or something, just something to make it interesting, because I'd already asked like 100 times. So, so the result is, like, from the initial book, I thought it was, because I met him through Mr. Lunch Takes a Plane Ride, the fact that he was reading it to his children, and I ran into him and gave him a soap, that our meeting, and for 22 years I've known him, came about from this book. So when the show was, the subject of the show was that same book, I just really felt like, I don't think there's anyone, an artist who's like done as much like social, positive, I think that all over the world everyone knows who Bart Simpson is, and that's success, I think. So anyway, so his blessing, and I knew how he felt about my work already, and so I just really wanted to make sure that part of the show was that I could point to and say, look, Matt Groening said this about me.